Oh, amazing. Thank you so much, Amanda, for starting the recording. For those watching the recording, welcome. Thank you for spending some time to watch this. We're going to be talking about Microsoft Teams today, okay? And it's going to be an intro towards it. And there are a few things that I will be calling out. If there are some differences with what you see and what you might see on the screen. And I will make sure that I will guide you throughout this whole process, okay? So welcome. My name is Miguel. I am a trainer for Microsoft Square One, and I will be hanging out with everybody for the next hour. Now, the reason why we do this, just a quick thing, is because Microsoft mission is to empower every person and organization on the planet to achieve more. And along with that, the education mission is really on the students and also the faculty and the staff who are tasked to providing learning for our students. This is going to be our agenda for today. It's a very loose agenda. I just want to make sure that everyone, sees that there is a Q&A at the very end as well. And this is just going to be a welcome and intro, and we're going to look at the Office 365 dashboard as well when you log in, and then we'll talk about Teams for 45 minutes, and then we'll have a Q&A. All right, but again, remember this session is going to be recorded. So if for some reason you need to go, by all means, go for it. Thank you so much for coming. Now, I'm going to exit out of this one because I want to jump right into the to our demo. So we're going to end the show, and we will be seeing what our landing page, okay, what our landing page for Office 365 will be. And to get here, all you have to really do is to go to portal.office.com. You sign in with your credentials, or you just go to office.com, sign in with those credentials, and it will take you to a landing page that looks like this as well. Now, why are we here? Because on the left side of the screen, once you sign in, on the left side of the screen, you will see all of the different Office applications that you have available for yourself as part of the University of Ottawa. And part of that will be Teams. Okay, part of that will be Teams. We will be discussing Teams at length here, but I will really suggest to everyone to just take a look at all of these different applications that you have available. And if you don't know what any of these icons mean, that's perfectly fine. You can always use the app launcher on the top left of your screen, where you will find all of these different Office icons with their names appended to the right of them. So you don't have to remember anything. It's all good. You will find it here. We will be using a specific demo account today. And again, the people, our attendees for today may be faculty, may be staff, right? I'm going to make sure that we hit both audiences at the same time. So I will be calling out some differences. But just so everyone knows, the account that I'm using today is going to be that of an educator's by the name of Kara Coleman. So Kara Coleman is faculty. And so there are some things that Kara might see, but you might not see on your own Teams. And I will make sure to just call out those differences. But mostly what we're going to be talking about today would be an intro to Teams. How do you navigate within it? Why are you even using it? How are you going to effectively collaborate with other people? And if you're going into meetings with other people, what would you do? So that's what we're going to talk about today. So we're going to jump into Teams right now. And again, please, any questions that you may have, just immediately pop it into the chat. Make sure that I want to make sure that this training, remember, is for you. So I want to make sure that your questions are answered to the best of my abilities. So we have our landing page for Teams in front of us. If you do not have the Microsoft Education edition of Teams, then that's perfectly fine. It won't look like this at all. What it will look like will be more of what we call our standard business Teams. For those using the Education edition, you might see this. But let's say you don't like this view. The reason for this view is because usually for schools, what Microsoft believes is most faculty interact with Teams on a touchscreen device, whether it's an iPad, right? It's a tablet. So most of the time they think that, oh, we're going to make our default view for Teams into more of a grid. So all of these boxes, easier to press. If you don't want this view at all, that's perfectly normal. That's perfectly okay. You can always go up to the upper right of your screen and click our gear icon. And then you'll see that there is a switch view. And in our switch view, it will go into our settings right under general, and you'll see that there is a layout. This is also where you've changed the different themes that you may have. What I normally use Teams in would be the dark mode, so it's easier on my eyes because I stare at it so often. What you can then choose is either your grid, which is the one that we were looking at, or your list. And list is what I actually normally see when it comes to Teams. But again, if you're using the education edition, you might see the bigger boxes, right? And you can just switch back and forth, okay, using this. And I can exit out. And now you'll see if you're using the standard version of Teams without the education components, you will see that it looks like this, right? It looks very similar to this. And if you want to change, and if you're using the education edition and you want to change it out, there should be a gear icon. Give me a second. I just can't see it. Sorry, everyone. There you go. There should be a gear icon at this part of the screen. Just can't click it. There you go. And then you can switch view. Okay. And then you'll be able to go back to those settings and then switch back and forth. Now, for the purposes of this training, we're just going to use our list view so that it's easier for you to see all of the different teams and channels that we will be talking about. So we're not constantly jumping into different icons. All right. So this is what you would see in Teams. On the left side of it, you'll see that there is a left rail. And what this is what we call our me space. Because when it comes to the left rail, you'll see activity, chat, teams, assignments, calendar, calls, and files. The left rail just means it's all about us. Anything that we need to see, anything that gets notified for us, any badges that we need, it all pops up through the left side. That's why it's the me space. When you're inside of the teams icon, right, and you're looking at all of your different teams, and you look in any of these channels, which we'll define later, don't worry. But when I click into one of these, sometimes you'll see your general space at the top taken up by different tabs. And that's what we call our we space. And what the we space means is that's because that's where we all collaborate. All of us have access to this. All of the people who need permissions will have access to this. And we're all working together to show up here. All right. I'm just going to go into there you go, into a standard teams right here. So you'll see posts, files, and then some different tabs. Now, the bigger space in the screen is just called your canvas. So we have your me space, your we space, and your canvas. All right. So just so you know where everything is kind of focused on. All right. Oh, sorry about that. Now, let's talk about Teams first. All right, because by its very nature, Teams is a collaborative tool. So we can actually look at our two tabs right here. So we have chat and we have Teams. Don't worry, we'll be looking at the other tabs later. But for now, we're going to be focusing on chat and Teams. So chat just means this is a chat between you and another person. So imagine that you're walking along the hallway and you come up to a colleague and you start talking to them, right? That's your one-to-one chat. If other people come down the same hallway and you pull them into this conversation that you have, that is now your one-to-few. So you're now still chatting with a group instead, okay? And chatting with someone, just sending them a message, is as simple as really just sending them a message. And to find them, all you have to do is you can left-click the icon that is the new chat, which is a pencil inside of a square. It's a new chat, and you're just going to type the name or the email of the person that you're going to send a message to. Now we're going to just try sending something to Grady, who's just another teacher, at least for this one. We're going to click that one, And then we're going to start down here at the bottom where you see a conversation bar. And I can just say, hello, Grady. Now, we're going to take a pause here because I'm going to just call out some differences again, whether you're using the EDU version, which is the education version, or the standard business teams one. The education version can basically put the users into different groups, whether they are a teacher or whether they're a student. The business teams, on the other hand, just says, you're part of the business, go for it. Okay, so those are the biggest differences when it comes to those two things. All right, so just a heads up. So that's your EDU. So you can be a teacher or a student in your EDU, and then you don't have those tiered groups inside of business. All right? And the reason why I'm calling that out is because this one does say that Grady is a teacher. All right, so that will come into play later, but just be reminded that there is a difference. So to actually message with Grady, all we really have to do is just send them a message, right? We can just type a new message here at the bottom and say, here's another message. Now, this is your one-to-one. The other options that you have when messaging your colleagues, right, is shown at the bottom of that text bar. You'll have your formatting tool, which you'll then be able to send a longer message. Let's say you don't want to send an email, but you want to make sure that you're putting in bullets, right? You're formatting the actual message that you're sending. I can say, hello, Grady, here's a few things. So notice that I'm pressing the enter button, which just puts your cursor down. Here's the list of things that we have to do. And then I can even put bullets by using the bullet icon in our formatting toolbar. Option 1, option 2, because I'm very, very bad at just thinking of creative things on the fly. So when we send this through, it will look like this. All right, you can even bold this if you want. All right, and I can send that through. So we have our chat. Now, when it comes to chatting, sometimes you want it to be important. So on the side of that formatting button, you'll also find an exclamation point that basically says, this is the kind of urgency that I want to send this chat out to. So by default, it will say standard. So the message just goes through as normal. You have your important, which if I click that, that actually gives it an exclamation point, and I can say, this is important, Grady. And it even gives it a bolded red important, all caps, and also an exclamation point on the side. And then Grady will get that as a notification with an exclamation point beside that chat. The other thing that we're going to look at is, aside from making sure that we're sending it either important or standard, you can also send any file through your chat. You can upload from your computer, or you can upload from your OneDrive, which we'll touch on later when we're talking about your files. Okay, so you can upload something from your computer, just send them a PDF, a document, an image, what have you. And then you have different icons here that does bring some sort of levity into the conversation, because sometimes when we're doing a lot of back and forth within virtual meetings and virtual spaces, a lot of the tone may come off across as dry, and you can't really convey tone in text sometimes. So we do have emojis, and we do have GIFs, and we do have stickers to at least give that out. All right? Now, you'll notice the last thing I'm going to talk about for this one is there is an urgent portion for sending a message. And urgent just means the recipient who gets this will be notified 10 times over the course of 20 minutes every 2 minutes. So I would advise caution on this one, because you don't want people tapping on your shoulder every 2 minutes and saying, like, did you read my message? I've found that over the course of really a year working exclusively in Teams, I've been perfectly fine with just sending important, and we're okay. From this chat as well, you can then video call your colleague, or you can also give them an audio call. However, this is going to be one-to-one. And we'll look at those options later when we look at meetings. But for now, just so you know, if you wanted to call them immediately, you can, from your chat, go to these two different options. Now, let's say in our hypothetical earlier, we're talking to Grady, but now there are two people coming down the hallway, and we want to talk to them as well and bring Grady into the conversation. There is the icon on the top right that looks like two silhouettes of people with a plus sign beside them. Apologies, you might hear some fire trucks coming by because I live beside a fire station. And if you click those two different silhouettes, you'll be able to see that you can add an email or a name for this one. Now, what we're going to do is we're just going to add a few other colleagues that we might have. And I am going to say, is Jody here? Give me a second. I'm forgetting any teachers for this one. Douglas? I'm just going to look for, there you go, Elwood. Elwood's here. And then I'm just going to press A. And then we're just going to put the principal in here for this fictional school that we have. So these are some colleagues of ours. Okay, so we're adding them in. And when we add them in, notice that we now see a screen that says you're starting a new conversation. This is not the same conversation that you had with your colleague before. So please take note that all of your one-to-one conversations inside of Teams are private. Other people will not be able to see it, even if you start adding them in to group chats. Okay, because you'll see that Grady Archie, our other colleague, is here, and then we have a new chat at the top that says Alan, Elwood, and Grady. And when I say hello, all of them will be able to see it. Along with this, if you find that, let's say you added 40 people into this group chat and you don't want to see 40 names and you don't know how to differentiate from your other chats, you can always rename it using the pencil icon by saying group A. Again, creativity flies out the window when it comes to me. So we're going to click save on this one. And now we see group A. You'll notice that there are now system messages that show up that say Kara Coleman changed the group name to group A. If you want to start adding more people into this group conversation, you have the option of going back to that icon on the upper right and then just adding more people. But remember, this is now a group chat. So that means people can just leave. You can just kick people out. Anyone else can just add someone else into this chat. There's really no privacy or security when it comes to this. There's no one owner of this group chat. So everyone has the same permissions. So Grady can choose to kick us out if they want to. And by kicking somebody out, they just get removed from the chat, right? You hover over the name, you click X, and they're gone. Now you can add more people. And because, again, this is a group chat, you'll see that there are now new options at the bottom. And if I wanted to add, let's say, our system admin, our IT member, right? If we click that system administrator, we'll see that there are three options, which is don't include chat history, include the history from these past number of days, and then you change the number, or you can include all of chat history. And why this is important is because sometimes you might want to bring a new employee on board or a new member of the team, and you either want to show them everything that you've been talking about or just a bit or just nothing at all. And if you include all chat history, and let's say we're going to add our system administrator, that system message shows up again and says, Kara Coleman added this person to the chat and shared all chat history. So your other team members who are part of this group chat will see that that the new person can see the rest of this chat history. All right. And then from here as well, you have your options of saying hello to everyone. You still have your formatting options, your uploading options, your GIFs, your emojis. And from here, you can also just send a video call immediately to this group where it will just ring all of their teams, or an audio call if you just didn't want to be on a video call. All right, so that would be your chat function. That is your one-to-one and one-to-few. Now, managing your chat, though, if you just wanted to make sure that something is important and you want to make sure that it's always at the top. Let's say you have 15,000 chats that are all here, all rolling through, and you want to make sure that you just have specific people that are always available. You can hover over one of their chats, and then you can click the three dots on the right side, and you'll actually see these three dots very often inside of Office in general. And what that just means really is, are there more things that I can do with this specific item? So that's your more options. And I can left click those three dots, and then I can pin this chat to the top. And you'll notice that it is now under pinned, and I can even pin group A. And even though you get a lot of messages, right? These two things that you pinned, these two groups and people that you pinned will not disappear. If you wanted to delete a chat, however, you cannot really delete a chat. You can only hide it. So depending on your on the university's retention policy, those chats will just be there indefinitely. Okay, just a heads up for everyone. So you can't really delete a full chat. You can just mute it or hide it if you want. Okay, so we're going to unpin group A, and we're just going to show you those options. You can mute them or hide them away from view, or you can leave if you really want to. Now, that is your one-to-one. So that's just, conversations. But what about actual meetings, actual team collaboration? So we're going to click Teams. All right. And I'm just going to collapse all of these different teams. Oh, perfect question during this time. How do you unhide a chat? So if you hide this, right, like let's say group A, before we go into Teams, because I did teach you how to hide it, but not put it back. So we hide group A, and now it's gone, and you can't really do anything about it. If someone messages inside of that group chat will be popped up again. However, if no one messages, you have to find it. So the only way to find it again is actually just typing the group name, which was group A. And if I left click this one, there you go. They pop up again, and then you'd have to click those more options and then unhide it. So be careful of hiding everything, because sometimes you might forget what a group name is, right? What a group chat name is. And so be careful. But thank you for the question. Now, we're going to go into Teams because now we understand how to talk to people, right? Like coming down the hallway. But what about actual structured groups? Now, we're going to take another pause here, and we're going to look at the differences between the education version if you're a teacher, or if you're using the business version if you're staff, right? The education version will have options to create classrooms. The business one will not have those options. So just a heads up, because we're going to show you how to create a team, and you might not see the same options, and you're like, Miguel, I don't have these. So because we're using an education account, and I just didn't want to have two accounts side by side so I didn't confuse you, I'm just going to turn off my camera super quick so that I can put my computer down. But there you go. So at the bottom, right, if you're using the grid view, you will find this join or create a team on the upper right. Okay, but we're using the list view right now. So structured groups inside of Teams are called teams. Right? That's what the namesake is for. So we're going to click join or create a team, and you'll have two options. Now, if you don't have the option of creating a team, please reach out to your IT for them to help you out throughout this process. Okay, but if you do have this, we'll take a look. All right, and even if you don't have it, it's very good to just remember what this is once you actually talk to your IT if you wanted to create a team. And the reason why we want to create a team is because imagine a team is a house. Okay, so you have a house, and then all of these different rooms inside of that house will be where the people in your group will start working together. And that's the biggest part of teams, right? The collaboration. So we're going to create a team. And if you have the education version, this is what you'll see. And you'll have different team types. If you have the business version, it will just ask you, do you want to create a private or a public team? Okay, so we'll go through a bit. For those using the education edition, you'll see that you can make a class team, Okay, if there are students and you're going to be a teacher as part of it, right? Like let's say you're teaching a video course, you have some students, you use the class team. Let's say you're part of a professional learning community and part of it would be your PD. You can also make that. But the difference would be there's no students, it's just all teachers, right? It's all the same level. Staff, on the other hand, is more there are some administrators and then the teachers. Okay, so it's school administration and development. And then other is what you would normally see. And we're going to actually use other as our example to create a team. And then I'll show everybody some examples of the other ones that we already have made. But to make one, we're just going to use other because other just means, hey, we don't know what team we want to make yet. We don't know if they're students or not, but we just wanted to test it out. So we're going to click other. And if you're using the business version, this is where you get immediately sent, right? So it will ask you for a team name. What is our group? Let's say we're making a group for January 21 training. I do apologize, everyone. I wish I was better at making names. So our team is called the January 21 training. The purpose of this team is that it is all about the training for today, right? This is where the resources go. This is what we talk about. You can also put in the description of saying, let people know what this team is all about and all about the training today. Right? And again, the reason why we're doing this is for structured groups. And you'll see that there's a privacy, which is there's a private version. And also when you click into it, there's a public version. So a public version is anyone in your organization can join. Anyone who's part of University of Ottawa can join this. A private, however, only the team owners. And right now we're making a team. So that means we're immediately an owner. Only the team owners can add other people, all right, can add members. So we're going to try to make a private one just for our purposes for today. Okay, so we're going to click this one. Now you can create a team using an existing team as a template, but for our purposes, we're going to make one from scratch. Okay, so we're going to click next. And now what we're going to do is we're going to add members to this one because remember, it's a private team. So we need to add members. We need to spread the word and actually bring people in. And because this is the organization, what we can do is we can start typing a name or a group. So I will just start adding Grady. We'll add Alan, who's the principal, and we'll even add Elwood, who's another teacher. Why not? And we'll even add our admin, who's part of our IT. And we're going to add that through. And when you make that team, you'll see that, oh, all of them are members. Miguel, didn't I see that only owners can add members? You're right. So if all of them are members, we can actually see that we can change one of these. So we're actually going to make our system administrator, our IT person, we're going to make them into an owner of the team as well. And why is this? For best practices, make sure that if you're making a team, there's always at least 2 owners. The reason for this is if, for example, there's something that needs to be changed in the team, you need to add another person, but you are not available, you need another person to at least back you up. So we have 2 owners right now, and we're going to close this. And now we have a new team at the bottom. And we're going to just hide all of these for now, at least collapse them using the triangle on the left side, just so it's easier to see. So we have our January 21 training. So if our team is the house, if there's only 2 in a team, can you both be owners? Yes. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Now, if the team is the house, you'll see that underneath is general, okay? And I'll show you an example of a different team. Let's say the science teachers one, which is the PLC. You'll notice that the science teachers ones have general, curriculum collaboration, insights, lesson plans, and then health research has different channels as well. So the different channels are just going to be the different rooms. Remember, if we're going the analogy of houses, the different channels are just the rooms where all of these different people can then start working together on. So because this is the training team, right? This is all about that training for today. We have a general, which you cannot delete. Okay, you cannot delete the general one, and I'll explain why later. If I wanted to add more channels, I can hover over our team, and then I can left click our three dots. Remember, our more options. We can add a channel, but you can also hide that team if you're not using it anymore. The same rules apply to the chat. If you want to unhide it again, you have to search it up here. You have to remember what that team was. And then you can manage the team from here, add a member, leave the team, all of these different things. But we're just going to add a channel. And what we're just going to put is just learnings. Let's say learnings for the channel. And there are privacy options. One is standard and one is private. And we're going to say standard because the standard means that it is accessible. This channel is accessible to everyone on the team. Okay, so we're going to click add. So we have general and learnings. We're going to add one more channel. All right, going to add one more channel, and we're going to say private. Private info. Just so it's really on the nose. Our privacy, we're going to change it to private. And this one is accessible only to a specific group of people within the team. So when I click next, you'll actually have another window that tells you who do you want to put in this private channel. All right, who do you want to put in there? Because we don't want everybody in the team to know this. So what we're going to put is we're just going to put our IT person, who's the other owner, remember? And we're going to put in the principal of our fictional school. We're going to add them through. And I can actually make it so that the system administrator is still an owner of just this channel. Okay. So I can also make Alan an owner of the channel, but not an owner of the team. Okay. Just, I know it might be a bit confusing, but remember, we're just looking at the channel. So just a room inside of our house. So we're still going to make them a member though. So we're going to click done. And now you'll see that the difference between learnings and private info has a lock button. This means that anyone who's part of this team, part of the January 21 training, and we're going to actually look at them. And to look at all of your different members, you can click manage team. And then you'll see that owners is Kara and the system admin. And then we have Grady, Elwood, and Alan. Grady and Elwood will not see private info at all. They will only see general and learnings. Try as they might, they will not see this channel until they get added in. They will not know the existence of this channel at all. Now, this means if I click the private info, everything that's in here in our WeSpace inside of private info will only be accessible to the three people, us, the system admin, and then our principal. Okay, so if you wanted to make sure that you're part of a team, but let's say there's money involved, right? Like it's their payroll. You want to put it inside of the team to make sure that it's still organized inside of where people's payrolls are going to be, but you don't want everyone to see it, make a private team. Now, what does each channel do? Why do you even make it? So these would be different parts, right? Let's look at the science teachers one, right? There's different parts of these teams where, okay, anyone have any insights? No one's really talking in this one, but here's some lesson plans. And here's communications to parents, right? It just really depends on what you want. But because this is a demo account, unfortunately, they don't really populate this one too much. But you'll see that in their general, everyone's kind of just there talking because that's what the general channel is for. Think of the general channel as your living room, where you welcome everybody into your house and say, hey, these are the different rooms in the rest of the house, but I will tell you about them in the general channel before you go through. Okay, so the general channel is really made for announcements, onboarding, anything that new people who are part of this team would need to know. Okay, now to actually engage inside of a team, you have several options. Remember, it is structured. It is not as simple as just sending somebody a message. I mean, it is that simple, but it's not the same use case because you have that in chat. What you can do is you can put a new conversation. And remember, we're in general. We can put a new conversation. And what I'll do is say hello to everyone in Jan 21 training. And I press enter. Now, you'll notice that there is a reply button underneath and there's a new conversation still at the bottom. It's because how Teams works, how communication within channels work, they're more of a bulletin board. You can have threaded conversations. This means if I say hello to everyone in January 21 training, and I say new conversation, and let's say, hello, Kara. Um, thank you for having me in here, right? Even though I'm sending it from the same account, for having me. And I press enter. You'll see that it's actually two distinct posts. So remember that if you're replying to a post, you have to reply it to underneath. There's a reply button there. And I can say, instead, I can say, thank you for having me. And now it's actually threaded in. All right. Now, if you make that mistake and you just think, oh no, I replied, but now I just have this post up. Don't worry. All of these posts, when you hover over them, you can react to them. But remember our friends, the three dots, which is our more options. You have the delete option here. So you can delete your own posts. All right. You can delete your own posts. No problem. And then that will just be gone. So it'll be gone from everybody's part. Now, along with actually sending people posts in here and replying to them and saying, giving them some reactions. In the general channel, I talked to you about onboarding and announcements. You can also make some announcements. And the difference is it gives you banners so that it's easier to see. And it actually looks like there should be one here that, sorry, everyone. Just can't see it. Okay, we're going to make our own. It's just not here. So what we can do is we can go new conversation. And instead of just typing it out and then just pressing enter, remember that formatting option from our chat? Our formatting options inside of our teams is a bit different. You have your new conversation, you have your everyone can reply, and you can have posts in multiple channels. So what I can say is announcement instead of new conversation, right? We put announcement, and now we have a bigger space. And I will say, welcome. And we can even change the color swatch of the background by clicking this button, the color scheme on the lower right, or you can even add a custom image to have it in the background. So we'll change it to just orange. Here you go, just so we can have it. And add a subheading. And what I can say is welcome first day. And then type your announcement. Hello, everyone. And then maybe you have a long list, right? You have a long message that you want to send out. No problem. You can have it go through. But remember, you can still have your bulleted forms in here. You still have all of your announcements here. But there are a few key differences. All right. Because we're the owner of this team, we can also set that everyone can reply or only us and the moderators can reply. And I'll show you what moderators mean in a bit. So not everyone, because it's an announcement, right? Maybe you don't want people replying. You can just have them, you and moderators can reply. And you can even post in multiple channels. If you wanted this specific announcement to show up in learning and you wanted them to show up in private info, why not? So you can actually click post in multiple channels. And one, it says to the general channel of JT for this one, which is the icon. And we can even select the different channels that we are part of and have that announcement come through. So I can even put it in the algebra channel. Why not? This is if you're managing multiple channels multiple teams at once. You can even put it in learnings and I can update this, right? Hello, everyone. Example text. Along with just putting through all of this text, you can even get people's attention by putting the @ symbol inside of your announcement or your conversations or even your messages. That's how Teams work. All right. It's basically you tapping their shoulder and saying like, hey, don't forget about this one. And when we press @ inside of our post, we actually see the people who are going to be part of this team. So I can say @ Elwood. Now, What if I try to and say, watch out for this announcement, something, right? What if I wanted to put in some other person? Let's say I was going to put in a student, someone who's a student. Adele Vance is a student in this fictional school, but because they're not part of the team, we cannot at them. We cannot tag them in the post. They have to be part of the team first. You have to add them in first before you can start tagging people, okay? Before you can start mentioning people. So we're going to send this through and I'll show you where it goes. And some differences between a normal post and an announcement: big header, you have a megaphone on the upper right side, and it can be posted in multiple channels. So it's posted in the general channel of algebra, and it's posted in this team and these two channels. So if we actually go to the general algebra channel, there you go, there's your welcome. And then if we go to our learnings channel for the January 21 training, there you go, still there as well. Now, along with communicating with all of this, the other things that you can do, all right, with this one is that you can actually add a tab at the top, and then you can put in different applications. You wanted to put in a website that people could use immediately, or you can put in a OneNote that people can collaborate in if you want. But I'll show you an example inside of, let's say, there you go, this one, the health research one. Okay, you'll notice that it's not just posts and files, but also the Heart Research Institute, which is just a video. So we embedded a video inside of this one, so it's a lot easier to find. They didn't have to go find it in another tab, all right? But along with the different posts, you can also look at the files tab of this team, all right? And this team doesn't really have it, but from here, you can start uploading different files, and I'm going to upload a file from my own computer, these test documents that I used for the last training as well, and I can upload all of these files. And it's uploading through, and there you go. All of those files will now be available to everyone who's part of the team. Okay, every one of these files will be available to all of the health research team. Now, we put it in general. Miguel, does that mean those files are inside of the data collection channel? No. So if I go to data collection and I go into their files, they have a separate, they have a separate file system. Grant process, separate file system as well. So this is how you organize your different structured groups to make sure that if you're putting files and you want everyone to access it, put it in general. If you want something that is only for the data collection channel, even though they're still visible to everyone else, at least they know that, oh, this raw data Excel file is just for the data collection one. Okay. And the strongest part about this one, not just, the collaboration tool, is if I just click into test one doc, I click into this, notice we're not leaving the we're not leaving the actual Teams client. I can start editing from here. I can say hello. And then if one of our other accounts, right, like comes through, then they will be able to immediately just join us for this document, right? The unfortunate part of this one is because all of the other accounts are robots, I couldn't really immediately sign into one of them, so we can't just join in. But if they were part of the team and they're part of the channel, you can just message them and say, hey, I'm going to be editing the test one document file in this channel. I'll be there today. Cool. Someone else can join you, and then they will show up here on the upper right, and their cursor will be a different color from yours. All right. And I have worked in different teams in different channels with up to, I think, 50 people at the same time. It got really slow because my computer couldn't handle it, but all of their changes were being saved, right? So we were working on a big Excel document together. And I see that there's a question, what is the file size limit? So the actual answer to this, and I need to look this up because it's not off the top of my head. The file size limit is governed by how big is the SharePoint site for Teams. And now we don't really want to delve too much in that one because it becomes a separate topic altogether. But just so you know, you can just keep adding files into it. Now, the maximum upload size for a file by default is 10 gigabytes. Okay. Now check with your IT to make sure that it is the right one, but by default it would be 10 gigs for one single file. So they'll be here. And now if I exit out of it and I just click Teams again, you'll see that it was modified about a minute ago by Kara Coleman. So if you were using this with other people, they can just come in and then they can modify it to their heart's content, and then they'll be here. Because remember, it's a shared file. So it's a living document that everyone can, share with. All right. Now, along with these different things, okay, um, along with these different things, for those using the education version, right, you have posts and files. Let's look into algebra, which is a class team. You'll see that they have a class notebook, which you can then, you know, let's say the other students, if you're sending out notes, class notebook is what you use. You can then start giving out homework, right? You can start giving out, these are the lecture notes for today. And I do remember being in university as well, and all I would ask for the professor was, can you send me the slide notes or the printout for the slides that were used in class today? And this is kind of, if we had a class notebook together, then this is what they would do. They would just send it through to my class notebook. And if I actually check, these are all of my students. Okay. You'll also have, as a class team, and remember, this is only on the education side of things, right? Like the education version, sorry, not the business version. There's also assignments, so you can hand out assignments as well. Okay. And then returning them, right? I assigned a few pieces of homework and I can check to see who's turned it in or not. So it's all here as well. And from here, I can also just check to see their grades. And it hooks into the assignments tab. And let's say they turn in their assignment for evaluate the expressions, which is this one, Friday homework number 1. When they turn it in, I could grade it, and then it populates into the grade section here. Okay. So that's collaboration with your students. Okay, that's collaboration with your students. And that is the biggest difference, really, when you have a class team, because it's a virtual classroom, right? Now, the other thing that you could do would be the PLC, which is the professional learning community. Now, you'll find it in general. So let's say this one. And to know what kind of team you're in, you actually just look if they have a notebook or not and say, oh, it's a PLC notebook. That means it's a PLC team because it's always going to be here, right? And then for staff as well, the Pineview School staff, you'll have the staff notebook, and everything else will not have those notebooks, okay? So that's really how you kind of engage in that team. Right. There's a few more management tools with this one if you really want to dive deep, but we're not going to touch on it. But I will show you where the option is. If you left click the 3 dots on the right, you can left click manage team, and you'll find all of your pending requests. Who are your members? What is happening in each individual channel? What are the analytics? What are the different settings that you have? So you can also check to see all of this one. But the next thing we're going to look at would be your calendar. All right. So your calendar is really just where you put your meetings in. You have a class, you have a meeting, right? And to make a meeting, it is as simple as on the upper right, just click new meeting. And then that will take you to a scheduling assistant. Is there a way? Yes. For the question in the chat, yes. So I will answer that later. I'll answer that, but yes, there is. So for when we're doing a meeting, all you really have to do is fill out the meeting details, right? And say, this is a test meeting. And we're going to put in required attendees. And we even have the optional attendees when you want to put it in their calendar, but they don't really need to join you, right? You know those meetings. Sometimes you don't really need to be there. Now, we're going to put in Elwood, who is a teacher, and we're going to put in Grady, and we're going to put in the principal as an optional attendee, right? And you'll have the same once you put in all of these people in your scheduling assistant. It will look at their schedules and say this time works for them. So it's very similar to your Outlook scheduling as well. And from here, you can change the date, right? To 30, we won't change that. It's all good. You can also set if it's a recurring meeting. Now, you cannot set specific dates for specific meetings though. This will only work for meetings that have set intervals with them. Okay? So just a heads up, because we get that question often and we're like, oh no, unfortunately, it's not there yet. You can also add a channel. So if you just wanted to put that as an announcement in a channel and say, hey, everyone inside of the January 21 training, we're going to have a meeting. These ones are going to be required, but if you wanted to join, right, just put it in there. And then add a location. If there's a physical location to this meeting, why not? But we're going to say, hello, these are the details. And when I put this through, I can send it. You will see that that meeting is now in our calendar. And if I double click this, there is now the join info at the bottom. And from here, you can either click the join icon on the top right, or you can even click here to join the meeting. All right. And if you wanted to, let's say, give a direct meeting link to someone, have them join immediately, this is where you find it. Okay, you can just right click and then copy this link and then just send it to them. Or just click, or sorry, just copy this whole thing and then just send it to them by email so they have the link if they don't want the calendar invite. And as the organizer of a meeting, you also have these different meeting options where I can click and then I can actually check to see what can anyone do. So for me, for the meeting that we made right now for the University of Ottawa for this training, I actually set it so that who can bypass the lobby? By default, it's only people in my organization, but my organization is Microsoft. So I had to make sure that it's everyone. So you didn't have to go into a lobby. Announce when callers join or leave. I clicked no because we might be a bigger group, so we don't hear people coming in and out all the time. And who can present? This one, I actually made it so that it's only people in my organization. So that's why everyone from the university is muted right now. Okay, and I'll tell you how to unmute yourselves in a bit. And then I said, allow attendees to unmute. So you can have all of these different options and then just save it and then it gets added in. Okay, so you can play around with this one and see. Now, the last thing I'm going to show everyone, all right, once you're inside of a meeting, okay, we're going to join this meeting. I'm going to block it. We don't need our video for this one. But when you try to join, you can check your video, check your mic, check your devices. Are they the right devices for all of this? Yes, for the recording for this session, please just watch out for communication. I will be sending all of these recordings to our point of contact. Yes. Yes, awesome. So please remember please check in the chat. There is a link to our information and archives management group for best practices to manage your data. Okay. Inside of your teams, you can then have your different options. It's turning your camera on, waiting for everyone to come in. You also have the option of having a conversation, right? A meeting chat with everyone. And then you can even show the different participants who are here. And then you even have your friendly 3 dots on the right on here that you can start the meeting recording, right? You can end the meeting if you're the organizer, which kicks everybody out. Or you can even have meeting notes, which is your minutes of the meeting. You're taking notes. Now, please remember that all of these meeting notes will be available to everyone who is part of the meeting. Just a heads up. So these are not private meeting notes. Okay, meeting notes and then agenda. And while I'm typing this out, I see that there is a question. Does a meeting made in Teams show up in our Outlook calendar? Yes. Yes, it does. It just shows up. And you'll be able to join from there as well. Okay, so custom notes. There you go. And then you can have your meeting going on. You can also share your screen as I'm doing right now with this training. I can share my screen, change what window I have, what PowerPoint, am I sharing a PowerPoint, right? All of it is here. And then once we're done, let's say we're going to end the meeting, right? We're going to end the meeting from here. Valerie, you have the right answer to your question. Unfortunately, there's no way, because the question is, if we were in a video chat, right, and we were having that meeting, that ad hoc meeting, right, and someone calls us and we just want to add them in, you can't just immediately conference them through. you would have to decline and then just invite them into your meeting. Okay, so by just adding them through in your participant list from earlier. But remember when we made meeting notes earlier during the meeting? Notice when we ended the meeting, it immediately went to our chat tab. And we have a new chat that says, this is a test meeting. Okay. So if we had conversations happening on the side, and you'll see this as well when we're done with this specific training, you'll see that this training chat that we have will actually show up on the left side of your chat in Teams. So this is a test meeting. You'll have a running history of the chat that has been done. So you have that. And then from here, you can hide it or mute it if you want, no problem. But this is also where you find the files that have been uploaded into the meeting during that time. You even have your meeting notes. And remember, it's a public meeting notes page, so everyone can see this. And you have your whiteboard if you are using whiteboard as well. There you go. So those would be your meetings. And then just to touch on, for your information management, right? We do have your files system here. You have your files inside of Teams and you have your files inside of OneDrive. You can use both of these storage containers for your files, but please remember that follow your policies when it comes to sensitive data, right? I will just say that if you're using OneDrive, these are the files that you use. And if you're really using your Microsoft Teams as a storage unit as well for uploading your files, these are just the files that you collaborate on. Okay, these are not your sensitive files. So these are just the files you collaborate on. So please take a look at the link that was sent in the chat for further clarification for that one. But we are at the top of the hour. Okay, so I'm going to this is the end of our presentation. I'm going to stop the recording here. For those who were watching the recording, thank you so much. I hope you know this was helpful for you. We're going to stop the recording, and then we're going to take in Q&A in the live event. Okay, so we're going to stop the recording.